On October 1, 2025, Canada stunned North America by imposing a total trade blackout on electric vehicles and components with the United States. The so-called EV wall instantly froze a multi-billion-dollar industry, ending decades of seamless cross-border auto collaboration. Major automakers like Ford and GM, whose vehicles often cross the border multiple times during assembly, were blindsided. The impact is immediate. Supply chains are paralyzed, factories are silent, and workers from Ontario to Michigan face uncertainty. This isn't a minor dispute, it's a rupture in one of the world's most stable economic partnerships. The border, once busy with trucks hauling batteries and EVs, now sits eerily quiet. Both nations had championed electric vehicles as a shared path to a greener future. Now, that vision is in jeopardy. Ottawa's announcement was firm: no EV-related goods will cross until key demands are met. Businesses are scrambling, governments are blaming each other, and consumers will soon feel the pain. Prices for new electric cars are set to soar, and some models may disappear entirely. For thousands of workers, the future is suddenly uncertain. This is more than politics. It's a story of economic shockwaves and real human cost. How did it come to this, and what happens next? Why did Canada take such a drastic step? The answer: the American Clean Energy Patriot Act. This law gave huge tax credits for EVs built entirely in the US, excluding Canadian vehicles and parts. Canada saw this as a betrayal of the USMCA, and months of negotiations failed. The final blow came when a major automaker moved a battery plant from Ontario to Ohio, citing US incentives. Ottawa viewed this as an existential threat to its auto sector. With jobs and investment fleeing, Canada retaliated with the EV blackout. The goal forced the US back to the table by paralyzing American EV production. It's a high-stakes gamble, one with consequences for both sides. The fallout is immediate and widespread. In the US, car prices are spiking and EVs are vanishing from lots as automakers face shutdowns. In Canada, factories are scaling back, triggering layoffs and threatening entire communities. Environmental goals on both sides are now at risk, as consumers may stick with gas vehicles. Trucking firms, small suppliers, and tech companies are all caught in the crossfire. The blackout is rippling through every layer of the North American economy. What was meant to boost clean energy is now stalling progress and hurting millions. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's a crisis for workers, families, and the climate. The human cost is everywhere. Sarah Jenkins, a battery plant worker in Windsor, says, "Last week I was building the future. Now the lines are stopped and I'm worried about my mortgage." In Detroit, sales manager Mark Chen faces empty lots and angry customers. People want EVs, but politics is making it impossible. Even EV owners are affected. David Miller in Buffalo can't get a replacement part for his Tesla. "I'm stuck paying for a rental. It feels unfair." Engineers in Quebec, truck drivers in Ontario, and small business owners across the border all face the same uncertainty. The blackout isn't just numbers, it's lost jobs, stalled careers, and families on edge. A young engineer wonders if her new job will last. A veteran trucker's rig sits idle for the first time in decades. These stories reveal the true impact: real people, real hardship. The decisions made in Ottawa and Washington are reshaping lives overnight. The EV wall is more than policy. It's personal. For many, the future has never felt so uncertain. The stakes couldn't be higher. As the crisis deepens, leaders on both sides are digging in. The US president defends the Clean Energy Patriot Act. "We're putting American workers first." Canada's response is hostile and illegal. The Canadian Prime Minister fires back, "We warned the US their policies would destroy our shared industry." This is about defending Canadian jobs. Behind the scenes, officials are spinning the story. US trade reps threaten to take Canada to a dispute panel, calling the blackout an overreaction. Canada highlights how many US jobs depend on Canadian parts, framing the blackout as a fight for survival. Both sides are rallying public support, turning a complex trade issue into a national standoff. The rhetoric is fierce, and compromise seems distant. Each government insists it's protecting its people and industry, but the longer the standoff lasts, the more damage is done. The public battle of wills is escalating. The world is watching and waiting for someone to blink. Will cooler heads prevail before the damage is irreversible? What's the way forward? Quiet negotiations are likely underway, even as public rhetoric heats up. Automakers and unions on both sides are pressuring leaders to resolve the crisis fast. A possible solution: a U.S. exemption for Canadian EVs and parts, restoring trade and saving face for both governments. If talks fail, the dispute could escalate. Tariffs on lumber, aluminum, or agriculture could follow, risking a full-blown trade war. That's the nightmare scenario: economic pain, lost jobs, and a fractured partnership. If the EV wall drags on, companies may be forced to build separate supply chains, raising costs and weakening North American industry. The stakes are enormous. The next few weeks will determine if this is a temporary rift or a permanent split. The world is watching for signs of compromise. The future of the North American auto industry hangs in the balance. The US-Canada EV blackout is a turning point. What started as a protectionist policy has spiraled into a crisis threatening jobs, industry, and climate goals. The standoff exposes the fragility of global supply chains and the real-world impact of political decisions. The best hope is a swift diplomatic solution that restores trade and trust. The worst case, a prolonged trade war that cripples both economies and damages a historic partnership. Industry leaders and workers alike are desperate for de-escalation. Will secret talks break the deadlock, or will the rhetoric grow harsher? The future of green transportation and thousands of livelihoods depends on what happens next. The EV wall is a stark reminder. Even close allies can stumble. The world is watching to see if they can find a way forward, together.